Well, you may not know it, but we're literally 1 minute to midnight here. We're going to be talking from the 29th into the 30th of July. We've seen the draw for the second round of the BoyleSports Irish Greyhound Derby. At this stage, you've probably seen it as well. It's well worth looking at some, interesting clashes. But before then, let's discuss what happened in the concluding session of opening round heats here at Shelbourne Park this Saturday night. As always, I'm joined by the child, Kevin Hennessy, joining me. Kevin, it's fair to say tonight was a night of two halves. First half of the card, the track seems to be going very well, but just seems to get gradually slower through the night. You mentioned it last night that the temperatures dropped considerably. That was definitely the case tonight. I closed my window at one point. It was just starting to get nippy, and it sort of told in the times. We'll get to them later on, but a great night's racing yet again.
Yeah, fantastic. If this wouldn't whet your appetite, you're in the wrong game. And dogs coming back from sort of layoffs and question marks over them, Right Hope Beach, he's sort of Marmite, isn't he? Like, some people love him, some people couldn't have him, but tonight he was just breathtaking, and he just goes to show what he can do when he puts it all together. He's a wonderful talent, and hopefully now he'll gain a bit of confidence from tonight. Change of season recently just didn't work, but that was him back to his best. And then we saw the other side of the coin, the hard luck story. We wondered when we'd have our first major one, and we had it tonight with Swords Rex. It just all went wrong from the get-go. I'm sure Graham would be bitterly disappointed, but I suppose he'll be also happy that the English Derby winner Gaytime Nemo did manage to get through as a fastest fourth. Looked a little bit unlikely last night after the results, but they'll be delighted, and it'll be a little boost to the kennel. He's plenty of other ammunition to fire at, but can't wait for the next round now.
Yeah, it's officially Sunday, so we better get started on this.
Yeah.
Onto the opening heat of tonight, heat 14, and it was another holiday. Sort of spoke to Barry Call before racing tonight and said back in his early days, I didn't think he would be a 550-yard runner, but the more you actually study him, he used to swing off the last bend, but he kicks again off that last bend. I don't think 550 yards is a problem to him. 29.23 tonight, fastest run of the Derby, just stunning. He was on the right side of Papadioro, so we knew he was the most likely pace setter. He did, 3:46, 17:01. He's touching the magical 17-second barrier. This was mighty impressive.
Yeah, I think another holiday when he gets it right. There's not too many in the Derby that could lead him. I know you're mentioning Papadioro. Even against Papadioro, he'd always going to stay that middle to wider course anyway. So I really liked him, and he's one of those dogs that, come final night, if he could get there, he'd be fairly short, because as we've seen in recent derbies, they get one from the front. He would tick every box in that department. When he does things right, he's brilliant. Those early pacers, they really have that one lifeline. They have to get it right in the boxes. Now, in fairness to another holiday, he tends to get it right most nights, and it was just a teaser tonight of how good he could do. 29.23, fast at the Derby, as you said, he was absolutely brilliant. The pace he showed into the corner was just incredible to make the bend, and he's another one for Mick to fire at in this Derby.
Yeah, the 1 second Papadioro, he's a dog that needs to be on the bunny. Pat will tell you that himself. He does 29.52, 29.53. He's doing nothing wrong.
Yeah.
Happy enough. Go on to the second round. He won't always come up against another holiday into the opening corner, and he's still a dog to consider, certainly in terms of heat betting going forward. Hanover Phantom very strong for Declan McDonough. He qualified back in third, and we now know that McNeil qualified in fourth, although he took a little tumble at the escape, but that just keeps him on his toes. On to heat 2, where Trap 1 Disco Pants. He was my selection in the market because I think he's proven at the top level more so than Romeo Hotshot, and he was the dog that was backed for money. Now he showed all sorts of pace to close, but Disco Pants away and gone. He's won over further in the past, and he's just a proper little star for Michael and the boys.
He has been. He's been a great servant. He really captured the imagination for me in the Kirby probably a year or more ago now. He showed brilliant early, and then he went through a spell where he hadn't shown that blistering early, but he was staying so much better, and now he seems to be doing both. He's not as quick to the corner as he was in his youth, but he's staying much better than he was back then as well. But I'm sure there was probably conversations in the kennel, an A2 dog entering him in the Derby, he'd have been some certainty turning up in an A2 stake somewhere, but there's only one Derby, and they took their chance, and from a brilliant draw he made the most of it, making all from the front. He's a lovable dog, and connections, they've done plenty of interviews where they come across great, and I'm delighted to see them into the next round.
Yeah, absolutely. Romeo Hotshot in second, bit of an eye catcher. He'll need to be a bit smarter at traps, and Carrickmore Logan, the third qualifier there for Mert. Mert had a fair few qualifiers in the Derby. He's ticking along nicely. On to heat 16. This is one of those where it sounds like after timing and whatnot, but I had tipped Ballyhimmock and Rex. I couldn't believe the prices during the week. I made him favourite. I thought he was the dog that they had to beat. He's the Shelbourne champion 550 winner, and yet he was 5-1 in places during the day, 7-2, and all of a sudden that price was nibbled away because Mr. Hegarty gave him a life too, and as a result, his price was considerably short, and it was during the week, but just a thoroughly professional display, away and gone. We saw him at the Shelbourne Champion 550. When he gets on the bunny, he's very hard to pick up. 365 runs, an absolute bowler in second. I thought the longer run to the corner would be a problem for her. As it was, she did turn second, and she did close, but Ballyhimmock and Rex is so good for Billy and John Dunn. You know, if this one had been with Graham, I think he'd even only be half the price.
Yeah, I think you're right. You know, he's a dog that I've been a huge admirer of for a long time now. Like when he gets it right at the boxes, I think that's his key. I think he has sometimes thrown in a misbreak, which happened to him in the Tipperary Cup below in Thurles. He just didn't get it right, and he went out as a result. But he was much better tonight, and when he starts and gets on the bunny, like, he's so strong. The Ballyhimmock and Jets are that way. You know,
17:09 tonight. It's good spin.
It was. I actually thought, you know, that caught me off guard when he was doing the 17:09, like, and 29:33. Like, he's a length and a half off the quickest time in the whole entire Derby so far. He's a proven track record, like you said. He won the Champion Puppy 550. He's probably one, like we talked about last night, one or two dogs that probably have never got their flowers, you know, haven't got as much credit as they deserve. He'd fit into that category. And 365 again for Scott and Ciara. Like you said, she had a lovely draw again the fence. Similar to you, I was worried about her in the longer run to the corner, but she held her position, she was game, and she was closing on a dog doing 29:30. That doesn't happen too often. So
yeah, I'd like 365 to go a long way, because, you know, obviously this time of the Derby you don't get a chance to meet the owners.
Yeah.
But no, the pints of high notes
sound like
my type of people. Just a note there, Fay Point Angry did an awful lot of running after a long layoff, and he's a dog that showed a lot of promise last year. It's good to see the Flanagans. They're great supporters of the game. Great to see them have a runner in the second round of the Derby. On to heat 17, and this was Sober Glory, and he had every excuse not to win this. You know, he found two dogs right in front of him off the second bend. He was forced to check his stride. He was back in third. He wasn't too far back, but he really started to motor it halfway. This is exactly what he's capable of. A brother to Rye Hope Beach. They're similar in terms of their engine. He got racing into that third bend, moved second, and then picked up Tommy Hewick, which is no easy task. A dog with winning form over 575 yards. He's strong on the bunny. You know, the owners of the runner-up could be proud, but so too can Sean Malone with Sober Glory. I'm sure Carl Ramsbottom was absolutely chuffed.
Yeah, a race that caught me off guard, to be honest. He's a fierce, fast dog, Sober Glory. I've always known how fast he is, but like you said, Tommy Hewick, you know, he gets on the bunny. He has Sober Glory sort of in his pocket going down the back straight, and he's form over 575. Tommy Hewick is a fair dog, and you know, to peg him back, like, that was a real marker tonight. Like, I was very impressed by Sober Glory. He'll have to go up quicker. Obviously, it was a race on paper that, apart from Cree Jojo, who looked
completely left.
Yeah,
so
like
it's one of those things.
Exactly, like it looked on paper as if Cree Jojo was going to go clear to the corner. He misses it, and then you're thinking, you know, the race is set up for one of the stairs. And I thought it was over after the second bend that Tommy Hewick would go on and win, but a huge run from Sober Glory. A young dog only having his 15th race tonight. He's definitely going to be a player in this Derby. I think he's got loads of ability. Hello,
Mom, qualified in third. It's great to see her going through.
Brilliant.
For Liam O'Connor. Liam is here every night of the week, and not just nights where he has runners, and
Correct.
He brings his grandson along, and they have a great old time. They're at the opening round of the draw. It's just great to see people like that with a runner. She ran a bowler again. She's a flying starter.
Yeah.
She's one you don't want on your outside,
Yeah,
because she never misses the kick, and she'll edge inwards. 29:45 Sober Glory, so impressive. On to heat 5. Speaking of impressive, Scaglietti 29:26 didn't take a flyer, but quickly got racing, got up the inside of Droopy's nice one into the opening corner, and held her on the bend with the inside line, went to the front. She's very strong. We know how powerful she is. She was the Derby finalist last year. She danced every dance, as Damien will always say. She was, you know, there in every competition she challenged in, and Scaglietti just kept her at an arm's length. He's so strong, so powerful. He's a spitting image of Vincenzo, you know, a similar type dog. And again, Pat Guilfoyle, a good winner last night in Good Maestro, son of Good News, one of his stars. And this fellow, Magical Bale, another one of his stars, Scaglietti, really taking display.
Yeah, look, Pat's dogs are absolutely flying. They really are. He's come into this Derby at all guns blazing. Another huge run. I thought when Nice One turned us close, I know Scaglietti kicks off the last bend. I thought she might just get him. She ran wide at the last bend, as she always does, but it take nothing away.
I think this fella just keep going for 600 yards.
He probably would have. Yeah, I think he probably would have still held on. Like when the 17-17 comes up into the third bend, you're thinking, you know, 29:40, 29:45 run, and then 29:26 comes up. Like
he's doing 12:09 home. Like that's racing.
Yeah,
you know,
he's
really
flying
is racing,
home.
yeah.
And so is the runner up. Like you said, look, she runs wide off the last bend. She gives away that length every night. Sometimes it can be to her advantage if there's a bit of scrummaging on the inside, but I'm sure Connections will be over the moon with the first two in particular here, and the reserve coming in running a big race back in third as well.
Yeah, the O'Brien's great to see him getting through with Dramana Dano coming in as reserve. Am I right in saying Pied Piper qualified? Did I see his name
he's
in the draw?
Yeah,
the Hefferners will be chuffed. He's a dog that just hasn't always had the luck. He has plenty of gears. Moving on to Heat 19, Trap 6, Ballymac John Joe. You were doing a fair bit of after timing at the draw. You were telling me that this dog should have been a much shorter price, and well, off the second bend, you're right. He should have been a much shorter price. Peeper's Lariat is such a nice dog for Lenny and Jack, and he got loose, and there's not too many that run him down. Ballymac John Joe's one of them. There was a certain air of inevitability about this. Peepers Larry did all he could, and he kept on pulling out front, and he just kept on finding, forced Ballymac John Joe to really, put the head down. He got there in the end to win in 29.60. And Stone Park Sid showed loads of pace down the back straight. He's going to need to sharpen up at boxes. But 3 fast greyhounds qualifying here. But Ballymac John Joe, one of 3 winners on the night for Liam Dowling. His kennel is motoring.
Yeah, exactly. Another kennel flying. Yeah, look, I just thought the race lacked a little bit of early in places. I fancied John Joe to turn in a pitch, which he did, closer probably than even I expected. And like you said, Beeper's Lariat made him work fierce difficult. I'm sure there was plenty of camaraderie going on between Lenny O'Hanlon and Shane when they were going neck and neck down the back straight. 2 good friends, and look, Jack Kennelly's getting some tune out of Beeper's Lariat. Like he we know how good he is to the corner. He's flying down the back, and when Ballymac John Joe turns within a length or a length and a half of you, and he's all out to get past you, you know that your dog in front is pulling. He's doing everything he can to hang on in there. The 29.60 run, it was about this point that the track started to get, the evening here started to get a little bit cooler, pay no attention to it. That was a cracking run from the first 2. And like you said, Stone Park Sid only having his 7th race, Puppy Derby eligible, to run into those 2 big tough stairs. Like, it was a fair run back in third as well. Yeah,
3 fast greyhounds. Again, if they do things right, you could see all 3 progressing a couple of rounds more. Moving on to Heat 20. This was the heat we've mentioned. Swords Rex was just completely gone at traps.
Yeah.
There's nothing more really to say about it. It just wasn't meant to be. Completely stumbled out. Very similar to what the other Kobe did in the opening round last year. We spoke about it last night. You hope you don't put the mockers on something else, and it was Swords Rex. Just so happens one of the stars of the track scene, and in the end it was undisputed. They did everything right. Wayne McCarthy, Paul Prendergast get some spin out of this lady. She's now with Pacquiao Foyle, and that's a good move. She's been flying for him. She was a sensational winner of the Consolation Oaks. She's so much better, especially when dogs are up against her, when she's on the inside of runners. Now, as it happens tonight, the way she started probably wouldn't have mattered, but 29.47, you could probably take 15 or 20 off that. I think this lady's more than capable of a big run, and she's so impressive. She held the ever-growing Dale Road Duke. He's a serious greyhound, this fellow. I'm sure they've turned down plenty of big offers for him. And back in third was Droopy's One Stop, who, again, has all the gears in the world. She's just going to need to find her trapping boots.
Yeah, look, it was fierce and fortunate. I actually made reference to what you said there. Instantly, I just thought of Kobe last year. Like, he was 20-25 to 1 last year, and a big player going into the Derby, and there's nothing you can do. It's just a freak thing. You wish it wouldn't happen in the Derby. I think, by all accounts, what I'm told is he winged it in the trial. You just wish it was the other way around.
He did 2 seconds in the trial, which is unheard of these days.
That's what I mean. Like, it's just one of those things. Look, the dog is sound and well, and he'll have bigger nights to come in the future. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, look, undisputed, a plumb draw on the fence. Even if Swords Rex did everything right, I thought she was drawn to give him enough of it. Just given that Swords Rex coming back from the English Derby campaign off the trial, you knew he'd probably need the run. I fancied the top to run a massive race in the race all along. Wasn't surprised at all. A huge performance from her. When, like you said, when she's on the inside against dogs, like she's a fair size. Like, she's 69 pounds weight. She is the size of plenty of dogs, but just when the bitches are against the dogs, a lot of them, it's easier for them, whether they're way outside or way inside. When they're in the middle of them, it's tough on them. So a plum draw, she made the most of. Dale Road Duke, like you said, Puppy Derby age, having a 6th race. This dog, speaking to Damien earlier in the week when the heat prices went up, he was the first dog backed. Plenty of people are massive admirers of him. We're starting to see why. Put him down your notebook. We'll be talking about him for quite some time if he stays in one piece.
He went in the notebook a couple of weeks ago, I can tell you that. And back in third was Droopy's One Stop. She has a massive engine. It's a competition where a couple of the bitches could certainly play a big part. 1 or 2 of them really performing well, and just don't be surprised if Undisputed and Dale Road, or not Dale Road, well, obviously he is well, but he's not a bitch. If Droopy's One Stop went, Yeah, deep. They're very, very talented. On to Heat 21, and this was Ballymac Return to Shelbourne Park, and my God, it made some difference. This fellow is just electric when he's on it, and tonight he was very much on it. Goldie Rock's Magic took an absolute flyer, and Ballymac just swatted her side, clear to the opening corner, and it was just brilliant thereafter. Clonbrine Treaty, we've spoken about it before, Kevin. Just those first few strides, he's walking out of traps, he's shown all the pace in the world to the third bend, didn't find an awful lot home. He's actually picked up by Goldie Rock's Magic, who runs an unbelievable race for the Out of the Blue Syndicate and Ian Riley, but this was very much about Ballymac. Stunning performance by last year's Derby runner-up.
Yeah, performance of the night for me. I was down at boxes, I thought he missed it. I know the Goldie Rock's Magic took a flyer, but even by Finn's standard, I thought he just missed it. I don't know what his sectional is. I thought he just got caught standing slightly, but what he did into the first bend was just...
He did a 17:06, and at this stage the track was starting, as you said, it
to get colder. Like, I think if he'd broke tonight, like I think he's definitely breaking 17. And when we've seen, you know, plenty of heats before him and nothing really get close, 09 and a couple of those, but like I think he could have went pretty underneath it as well. I think a 1690's in him. Do you know what I mean? I think he's as good as he's ever been. People would have been questioning that after what happened in Toaster, but we know
I think we just have to put a pen
it's
to
enigma.
that.
Do you know, Toaster is that kind of way. Do you know, some dogs take to it. I'm not knocking Toaster.
And Liam had also said he was under a bit of a cloud.
Yeah,
as well,
at the start of it.
Put it all together. And the dogs, when they're under a cloud, they often come out of it in raring form, and that's where Ballymac is now.
Yeah, and we like, we're talking about him here as if he went over to the English Derby and went out in the first round. Yeah. He got to the semi-finals of it, I think. Do you know what I mean? Like, anyone else would be jumping for joy. He's got to the semi-final of it, and we're talking about him as if he didn't lift a leg over there. That's how good he is, and he runs. I know he does nice trials in Tralee and fancy clocks, but I don't think there's a dog in this Derby that loves Shelbourne Park more than him. And he's back in his home. He does everything right. Me and you were talking off air before this, and we're talking about the anti-post market and Hoff at the top of it. I'd have Finn up there with any of them. I just think he loves this place. He does everything right. He starts, he stays, he's proven it. He's been there, done it. He's a mature dog now. If you're looking for a dog that has ticked every box for me in the Derby, it's him. Most impressive of the first round for me.
Yeah, Clonbrine Treaty on the outside. You'd have to be concerned, although in the benefit of hindsight, he's got a fairly easy draw in the second round, probably much easier than the first round draw. Yeah,
look, I just think with Clonbrine Treaty, I think he needs to dominate. I think when he dominates, he'll do a massive run for you. If you've punted him early, you definitely need to see him sort of in the first two off the second bend. And even if he's in second, he needs to hit the front by that third bend, because he will be vulnerable to those stairs off the last bend. You know, the 550 does seem to stretch him a little bit.
Yeah, Goldie Rock's Magic second though. I'd say the owners are. I'd say they've floated home. Yeah. On to Heat 22 of the BoyleSports Irish Greyhound Derby, and a dog that I haven't hidden my admiration for him anyway, Deladdy Da. I think at the time I was sort of a little bit disappointed, and then you look at it back afterwards, you see the next run and the few runs after and go, that was a hell of a run. Like, Clona Rocco is a dog that's come into this race in absolutely the form of his life. 28-20 and 28-21 estimated on his card in his last two starts. He's after winning 4 in the bounce. He does everything right. Yeah. He wings out of boxes. He's actually in front on the winning line, only by a spot, as we found out. Deladdy Da, though, takes him into the corner, leads by about half a length into the back straight, maybe 3 parts of a length, goes on to win by 3.5 lengths, just does everything right. There's a lot to like about this dog, Kevin. I just really like the dog he's turning into.
Yeah, another Puppy Derby age. Like, at this rate, we'll be running a pre-run of the Puppy Derby here in a couple of weeks with all of them making the final. He's a monster. Shane had put me on this dog in Tralee before the start of the unrace day. He'd plenty in it and just talking, and he raved about him. He's done everything right since the day they started. He was an October puppy going into that, taking on January and February's, and it was sort of just throw him in for a race or two and let him learn. And he was down.
Andy having a brother-in-law like that.
Yeah, and he was down there doing like 28-40s, like in Tralee. At the time, that was as good as what any of them were doing in it. Like, he's always been a monster for them. To give him a little layoff after that, and he's come in, he looks a man now, you know, like he just looks, he's that air of arrogance nearly about him. He's learning on the job, he's improving every week. His run last week was a massive run. It was a really hot puppy race, and he dominated, and he done exactly the same tonight. Like you said, Clona Rocco absolutely winged it. And from still to make the bend, when you look at Clona Rocco doing a 2:03 here, 2 runs ago, like, that thing can fly to the bend as well, and he just took it up and went away. Like, he'll kick off. We're talking about dogs that kick off the last bend. This dog will kick off the last bend for you as well. So another one for for Liam and Shane that starts, has middle, stays, 29.43. You could easily take 20 off it, and you're talking about 29.20 run. You could have said the exact same thing about what he did. They did rate at 20 slow last week, so that's back-to-back 29.20 runs from an October puppy having a 6th or 7th race. Scary to believe.
Yeah, son of Lenson Bocco, who's a Derby champion himself, and not too dissimilar to his sire. When was the last time a Derby winner threw a Derby winner? That's your homework for next week now. We won't put you in the spot.
You should know. You should know.
It's something I have looked up in the past. Clona Rocco ran a big race in second. He could still play a part, certainly in a couple of rounds to come. And I just want to mention Brookside Ritchie. Jimmy Fenwick was there tonight. Delighted to be in Shelbourne Park, and it looked disastrous after 2 strides. Missed the kick, cut for the inside, but charged his way up the inside. Found traffic, but qualified in 3rd, and I'm sure they'll be expecting much better from him. So just great to see an international challenger still there.
Yeah, and like we said, and we'll say it as the weeks go on. There's nights where things go wrong. Tonight it went wrong for Sorge Rex, and he's gone out. Brookside Ritchie, it went wrong for him tonight. Could have easily went out, didn't. And they're the nights that you just want to keep your name in the hat, and he did. So bigger run expected next week. Yeah,
Heat 23. It certainly went wrong for Callaway Pro. He popped out, and just there was nothing there. Just seems to be, I don't know what happened to him. Probably something muscular or whatnot, because he did gallop on afterwards when he heated up. So we just hope that we see him back in the track. Rye-Hope Beach though. This fellow is a monster. We've been saying it for a long time. There was definitely confidence issues. You said the C word, and they brought him down to Tralee. Just get out of his head, because that's where he had the problem. From Tralee, brought him down for a trial last week. Bingo bango, here we are, 29.34 in the slowest of the going. Sensational run. I think if it had popped up at 29 seconds, I wouldn't have been surprised. Michael O'Donovan, Damien Lonigan refers to him as God. I'll tell you what, he can do a dog, and that was a touch of genius. This is a serious greyhound.
Oh, look, he is, and like, I suppose I've seen it in the past. The minute young dogs do these fancy runs, like, we put them on this pedestal, and we don't really give them a chance to learn, and they do fancy runs early, then they have to compete in the elite grade. Like, it's not like when a dog, especially a young dog like that, runs 2 bad races that you can say, do you know what, I'll run him in a lesser grade, I'll bring him to Cork and run him in an A1. You can't do that. He has to run against the top open dogs. They never really get a chance to learn on the job and have those races, and plenty of people would have been harsh on this dog. Look, give me a dog with that talent any day of the week, and let's iron out the issues. Let's work on that.
You can't insert an engine into them.
That's what I'm saying.
They either have it or they don't. Exactly. But this fellow certainly has it.
He's arguably the fastest dog in the Derby. Clearly, Mick was trying to change things. He put an inside seat on him. It didn't work. Went down to Tralee, gave him a spin, and it worked. And like, we're talking about him as if he's blowing the lids off it. He done a 3.56. He didn't come away racing. No. He can come away better than that. But he's so uber talented, and I just want to see the dog running well, because the Derby's better for a minute, and anyone that's second guessing him, I can guarantee you, if anyone had a dog in the Derby, you don't want to see him in your heat alongside you. So
I did feel real sympathy for one man in this race. Can you guess who it was?
Real sympathy. Well, I would have felt sorry for the Callaway Pro on that, because he clearly wasn't right. He moved in, but
a man with no connection to the dogs.
Well, go on.
It was the cameraman, because he was trying to keep the rest of them in shot, and it was impossible. It's hard to say it about Steffens Rock and Corbrack Dan. They qualified in second and third because I couldn't see them.
Well, Steffens Rock, actually, I went back and watched the replay myself, ran an unbelievable race. He broke last for a dog that is a very inconsistent trapper for Shea, and it frustrates him. I'd be talking to him. Walked out, was last.
Shea's a good man to talk to.
And had to manoeuvre his way. Shea's dog, I thought he ran an absolute cracker. Like, he'll go completely under the radar again next week, because he finished so far behind. But he ran some race now, in fairness, to get back up and be second, because he can go bingo bango at the boxes too. On to
Heat 24. A couple of years ago, Susie Sapphire landed the BoyleSports Irish Greyhound Derby. Her half-brother was the winner of Heat 24, Jatara, and while he did it well, I just think there's still so much better to come from him. I think we're waiting to see what he did in Cork. At the same time, he ran well to score. BoyleSports Vic, your own dog, ran on well for second, and Romeo Magico overcame plenty of adversity to qualify in third. But Jatara was the dog we were waiting to see go boom. Just didn't quite happen, but still a good winner.
Yeah, I was getting excited for a second. I thought your memory was going to be incredible. I thought you were going to say she ran out with Heat 24, Trap 1. In hers, I was going to say, Chini Mac, I'm going to win the Derby this year with Vic. Yeah, look, me and you had a discussion when you were over in England for the English Derby, and we both sort of said the same thing, that we couldn't wait to see Jatara when he got to Shelbourne. The running he was doing in Cork, I suppose, it's quite known that a genuine wide seed in Cork throws away an awful lot more ground than a genuine wide seed would here. I felt that when he came to Shelbourne, he was just going to rip this place apart. I really did. I thought he was out wide running Susie Sapphire potentially. I know that you don't get too many of her, but that's the level of ability I thought he had. I think, again, what I've said about Right Hope Beach and Good Maestro, young dogs just need some time sometimes, and it clearly is going to take him a run or two. Like he's going to win a heat of the Derby, and and we're saying what went wrong. He's only had his 6th race tonight, 4 wins from those 6 starts. We both are saying what we're saying because of the admiration we hold him in, and he there's plenty more to come from him. Whether this Derby will be his, you'll hear plenty of him, because his explosion to the third bend and the runs he was doing in Cork was breathtaking. He's done 17.33 to the third bend tonight. I think he could easily go 5 lengths quicker than that to the third bend than what I saw him in Cork. That'll give you an idea of how highly I rate him. 3.49 up. He's got brilliant early. Look, he's a young dog. He's learning, and it's just clearly taken him a run or two to get used to Shelbourne. BoyleSports Vic, I was happy with him. I just don't think he's fluent on the bends. I said it to you off camera. He's staying really well. Delighted with how he's staying. I was delighted with how he went up to the bend tonight. But he's just not running the bends great. So we'll get him checked out and try.
He wants trap 0, doesn't he?
Needs trap 0. He's got 4 again the next night. I was putting it down to the automated machine. They kept drawing him out in 4 and 5, and the hand draws. He was drawing 1 tonight. I was delighted with it. We know now in the second round he's out in 4. I was very happy with him though. He's staying really well. He's running well. We just clearly have to figure out why he's not fluent on the bends. Romeo Magico got it wrong at the boxes. Was in a tricky enough position, but like the dog age at all. Like he's just a warrior.
The engine's still there, isn't it?
He's a warrior. Like BoyleSports Vic is. I know how talented he is. Like he's very, very talented. Off the second bend, Magico's level with him and passes him. Do you know what I mean? And that takes some doing. It really does. Vic came back at him again up the home straight, but he's a warrior, Romeo Magico, and underestimate him at your peril. Everyone's talking about the top end market. I haven't heard many people talk about him. He's an English Derby winner. Every competition he runs in, he seems to get to the latter stages, and Graham has him firing again. So look, Chitara learning will come on for the run. Vic, we need to get him right 100%, and Romeo Magico, an old warrior.
Yeah, Magico's only a few days away from his 4th birthday, so it's about time he started showing some sort of decline. But no, still showing all the gears. Just needs to sharpen up at boxes. Yeah, that's been an issue all year, to be honest. But moving on to heat 25, should I say, the penultimate heat of the round, and this was Bocco's Crystal. Now, I'm quite friendly with Graham Box, and I knew that she was coming out of season and she'd badly need her trial and she badly need her run tonight. Well, she certainly didn't need it in the early yards because she rocketed out of traps. She got loose and cleared on the back straight, and while it wasn't easy for me to commentate on, as you can probably tell, there was a lot of bees going on. She did tie up, but she'll improve considerably for it. 29.58 in those conditions, 17.09 to the third bend. It's a hell of a run from a hell of a bitch.
Yeah, I think you should have it as your ringtone. Anyone watching this, don't even listen to me and Ian talking over this, go listen to the commentary. But yeah, she absolutely winged it, and she does this, she's got this in her locker. I know she's got form over further, and staying isn't an issue at all, but I've seen her plenty of times now where she just literally takes off into the corner. She's as good a bitch as there is in the Derby. The reason she was the price she was because of what you had said, coming out of season, needing to run. No sign of it there tonight. Like she absolutely.
Oh, well, she tied up the home straight.
She needed to run.
But that will come.
She's doing 17.09 to the third bend. Like she was absolutely flying. 29.58 second last race of the card. Like it was. She's tying up a bit coming home, but you also got to remember it's Bob Cedrine coming at her coming home. It's not like she's
and BoyleSports Bob
and BoyleSports. Well, I'll keep him under the radar, but it's like it's Bob Cedrine that's coming at you. Like it's not like she hit a brick wall. Do you know what I mean? Like she ran her race, and what a race she ran. Bob Cedrine dove in out of the boxes.
When you see her tonight and the trouble she caused herself, let it be said, but where she came from. It's going to be very hard to keep her out of frame, isn't it?
Oh, nigh on impossible. Like we said, it's about, you were talking about the bitches earlier on the market. I touched on it last night. Like genuinely, the top bitch market is as competitive as the outright betting. I'd be looking at the outright market nearly more than I would be the top bitch, because I think whatever wins the top bitch could actually win it outright. That's how good they are this year. Every year we rant and rave about the ladies in the derbies, but genuinely for depth, this is as good a year as we've ever seen. There's so many superstars in it. 2 more of them here. Bob's a Dream just dives in out of the boxes. Maybe, coming back to Shelbourne, having been to Dundalk, I've never noticed. Now, you correct me if I'm wrong. I've never noticed her as bad.
She's done it a few times,
Okay.
but not consistently.
Okay, yeah.
It's something, as you say, in her locker.
Yeah.
You'd be hoping now if you owned her. They should be getting a few more draws closer to the fence just to alleviate that, and just a clean passage in early yards. And sure, she's capable of any sort of run. BoyleSports Bob, listen, we can't fly under the radar, I'm afraid. He loses 2 or 3 lengths, just the momentum and the sort of, not the opening corner itself, but sort of between the opening 2 corners. He's still learning his trade. He's still learning his body, it seems. He's got a hell of an engine. Off the last bend, he's with Bobsleigh Dream, and yet he's still there at the line with her. There's an engine there. When it comes together, I'm sure you're very excited.
Yeah, look, we haven't got him overly that long. I texted you the first time we trialled him up here. I was trying to figure out what the track was like on a trial day. We've always thought quite a bit of him. He's putting it together. He's not under any great pressure to do it. He's learning as he goes and races here. It's not that he's getting extensive training at home. He's a young dog that we're not pushing, and he's just improving every night he steps on the track. We could not be happier with him. He's crossing the line tonight with Bacchus Crystal and Bob's Dream, and he's only having his 6th race. Like, you couldn't ask him to do much more than what he's doing. Like you said, again, he wasn't that fluent on the first 2 bends. More so off the second bend entering the back straight and down around the bottom 2 bends again. Like, he's gone into the 3rd bend, a length and a half up in Bob's Dream. He comes over the length behind her, so there might be just something there that we just need to iron out. But again, the way he finished his race, like to in front of Bob's Dream to the drop, like, that takes some doing. So he's a very exciting pup, and hopefully we can keep plugging away.
All the things that you're pointing out come with practice rather than anything else, as you
Yep.
say. The engine's already there. You can't you can't tinker with that. That's as it needs to be, and it's purring. The final heat, and I suppose it was a great way to finish off the opening round of the Derby, because it was a race of changing fortunes. There was fortunes in particular for Trap 1 Halo in the ring. He went off at a much shorter price than I thought he'd go off. He flew up into the corner after a moderate enough start, built up a sizable enough advantage that it looked like it was going to be gamble landed. Then all of a sudden the wheels started to fall off. Meanwhile, Music Glideaway has missed the kick and raced up around the outside and taken a bump, and he's last off the second bend. And then all of a sudden he takes off, and now they're tight enough on the inside, but he races up into the 3rd bend, goes second, and then all of a sudden you're going, hang on a second, this dog could get here yet. And he certainly did get there, but they all came with a rush. Fire Time is a strong stare, and then Doc Technic Diva came out of the clouds, as she does. That's what she does. She's a massive finisher. But I thought it was a hell of a run by Music Glideaway.
Oh, it was. Like you said, you could spend 20 minutes talking about this race. Like, you really...
I have to write a report about it.
Yeah, well, best of luck with that. But yeah, you summed it up really well. Like, Drewby's timing gets away well. Halo flies, burns up into the corner. Music Glideaway, like you said, takes an awful bump at the corner. At that point, the winning of the race, he's $1 million to get back up and win. You're looking at him to get into a qualifying position. He'd lost all momentum. One was railing like a cat and extending in front. And then, like you said, into the 3rd bend, here comes Music Glideaway. He looks a winner then 15, 20 yards from the line, and out of absolutely nowhere, Doc Technic Diva, just from the clouds, just really fired it down. You could have thrown a blanket over them. There was no surprise that even though the time was poor at 30:09, if you'd seen the winning time, you definitely would have said, well, the fastest 4th wouldn't have come from that race. But they actually crossed lines so close that Halo, who was 4th, actually did manage to get through, albeit needing a toss of a coin to get through. But you know what I mean? You throw a blanket over them. A really exciting race, a brilliant way to end the 1st round heats, and let's get going now for the 2nd round.
Halo did qualify.
That's
got
what I'm saying.
A toss of a coin, which we have to mention. He's a type of dog. He has good runs around Cork. Just could see him running in sort of laurels, and he's that sort of early speed. But yeah, great way to finish off proceedings, and that's that. So, what wins the Derby, Kevin?
Very easy question, Ian. I'll tell you off air.
That's fair enough. As soon as he tells me, I'll tell you. Okay, it's now 20 to 1 in the morning on Sunday morning. The BoyleSports opening round, BoyleSports Derby opening round is done and dusted. We look forward now to the 2nd round next Friday and Saturday night. If you can get to Shelbourne Park, it's really going to be worth a visit. Some exceptional racing to come over the next few weeks, including next weekend. But that's it from us at Shelbourne Park this evening. My thanks to Vinny behind the camera, who does all the hard work, the editing and whatnot. So if you're watching this on Sunday, Vinny's had a late one. So spare thought from. That's it from us, though. We'll see you next time.